The age-old question, hardware versus plugins. I'm not going to get into that debate today because I know the beauty of both, and no one's going to convince me that one is better than the other because they're both amazing and they both do two completely different things. But today what we're looking at is when they're doing the same thing. So I wanted to revisit the SPL Big Plugin by Plugin Alliance because I have the hardware here today. And I want to take a listen and see how big of a difference there is between the plugin and the hardware. The reason I want to do this is because when I reviewed this plugin a few months back, I loved it. I'd heard the SPL Big in Friends Studios and I thought that it did the same thing. So that was what my review said. I said, this sounds amazing. I watched some other reviewers looking at this plugin and I saw a bunch of comments by users and people were kind of calling it out as being a snake oil or gimmicky plugin. And I totally disagree. The reason being that it doesn't matter if you can recreate this in other ways or if it's not a hack or not. The point of this plugin was to replicate hardware. So if it replicates the hardware well, 90%, 95%, 100%, that's the only job that they set out to do. They wanted to recreate the hardware. Now, if you have a problem with what this tool does, if you think that using another tool is better, that's a whole other conversation. But as far as a plugin emulating hardware, that's the only thing that I'm looking at when I'm trying to get an emulation plugin. So what we're going to do is listen to two different tracks with two different settings. I'm going to be going back and forth between the two. We'll listen with the bass knob on, the bass knob off. I'll also do a short loop so we can just listen to one section over and over, which is sometimes an easier way for the brain to hear differences between audio sources. And then we'll do a null test. Now, what I'm excited about in this blind test is I want to see what you guys think, if you're able to hear a difference between these two. So comment down below which one you think is the hardware or software. If you don't know which one, take a guess or say, I can't really tell. Now, and what I'm going to do is if there's overwhelming support for either A or B, I'm going to post the results down below. But if the decision is kind of split and we're getting mixed results, I'm going to leave this up for a couple days before I post the results. But I will post the results in the comments below either today or in the next few days. Now, the audio coming from the plugin and from the hardware are completely level matched, so you're going to be hearing these exactly at the same level. And also, I have them both running through my Burl B2 Bomber analog to digital converter. And the reason I did this is it didn't feel fair for me to have the hardware running through the converter and not the plugin because the converter does have a sound to it. And I wanted them to both have that sound. All right, so let's just hop in and see if we can hear a difference between these two.
Every night I think about something I said, something you did, conversations we had, now you're dead. Every day I see your shadow with me, how could this be? Now you're always with me, now you're dead.
Okay, so let's take a listen to the bass knob on.
Every night I think about something I said, something you did, conversations we had, now you're dead. Every day I see your shadow with me, how could this be? Now you're always with me, now you're dead.
And just to give a little context, this is in bypass.
Every night I think about something I said, something you did, conversations we had, now you're dead.
All right, so let's do one more test on audio here. Again, I have the bass off on this. The settings changed, but they're the same on the hardware and on the plugin. So let's take a listen, see what we think. We'll do a short loop so we can really hear the same repetitive thing over and over again. And then we'll try a null test and we'll see if it is clear which one is which. All right, let's listen to this with the bass switch on. All right, let's just take the first bar of that, go back and forth so we can hear the same thing over and over. That's a little bit easier sometimes when you're looking for differences, especially when things are as close as this. To be honest with you, if I were hearing this, not knowing the result, I would be pretty confused which one is which. I'm really excited to see what you guys think. Let's do a quick null test and then we'll wrap this up. Now it does not null, but it gets close. And as you could see on the frequency spectrum, the red line being the side chain, so A, and B having the white line on this graph, you can see that the only difference on the frequencies is in the low end, the very low end. It looks like A has a tiny bit more low end, like deep down low, below 20 where we can't hear, and also has a little bit more air above 20 where we can't hear. So yeah, just look at these lines really quick and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so a few things to consider here. The SPL Big Plugin is $149. The SPL Big hardware is $500, but you do need a 500 rack to put it in, so you have to keep that in mind as well. After hearing these tests, personally, I know the results and I'm confused. I had to go check my notes to make sure I was right about which one was which. I think that this plugin might be the closest recreation of hardware that I've ever heard. If you've heard something better, let me know, or closer, let me know. I mean, so close that they really almost null. I think that this actually ups my review from last time. I gave them a great review. I forget what number I gave them. But honestly, this plugin is a 10 out of 10 for me now, and this is why. It is recreating the hardware to the point where I'm confused. And it also gives us more features. So not only can I put this on multiple instances in a mix without having to buy multiple units, that's obviously worth the money right there, but also you get more features and don't have to wait for real-time bouncing. So all of the kind of downsides of hardware, this plugin takes care of. So yeah, I might be returning this unit, might not be. We're going to see if this is something that I love to insert within my chain, because if it is, then it is worth it having it for me. But I think in general, this is one of those times that the plugin might beat the hardware, which is rare, I think. All right, you guys, I'll see you guys soon.